If you've preoccupied yourself with the topic of weaning a breastfed baby, I'm sure you've read some of the crazy ideas from the internet, like putting mustard on your nipples. Unfortunately, I'm a culprit of trying out some of these, and that's what I'll be talking about in today's video. When I weaned my child, why and how I did it, and I promise you I'm going to share what worked, what didn't, and what I wish I knew in advance. There's a mom that asked me, "Hey Taff, can you please tell us how you went about weaning your son?" And this is why I'm talking about this topic today. And the next few episodes that I'll be sharing, I'll be addressing the questions that the moms have been whispering in my ears, have been asking. So there are many different techniques on the internet. You can Google it, you go in mom groups, and everybody's telling you different ways of how they did it. I wanted it to be as gentle as possible, emphasizing the as possible part. So I tried to absorb as much information as possible and as many reviews as possible from those other moms that had done it. Something that I found common back then, a lot of moms said they just put bandages on their nipples and they told their child that the boobs were dead. I absolutely did not want to portray my boobs as dead, so I was like, I'm not doing that. And I know my son's personality. I know he would not have taken that. Like, that was not an option for me. Then there were options like, putting something bitter on your nipples. I was like, that's harsh. I read the list. People put aloe vera gel, they put chili, some put bitters, for the nails. And then I saw mustard. I was like, mustard sounds a bit doable. So for us, the mustard I grew up eating in Zimbabwe, sweet mustard. Mustard here in Germany is really it affects the nose. But I thought, hey, maybe I can try that out. But I carried on reading to see what other ideas they had in the pipeline. Some went down the road of sending the child to the grandparents, so they're away from the parents for a given period of time. And when they come back, because they were gone for so long, they no longer need to be breastfed. That was absolutely not an option for me. It was really important for me to be with my child and to support him through this journey. So there's also the option of, you move out of the bedroom and you leave the baby with the dad for a couple of days or weeks until the child stops breastfeeding. That was also not an option because that means I would not be a part of this journey. But there's some people that have reported that just being in the lounge or being in another room did not work. They literally had to leave the house. So that was not an option, but that's, one of the options that the moms on the internet propose. And then there's delaying tactics. So when the child wants to be breastfed, you say, after reading this, or after dinner time, or after playtime. And that, needs a lot of patience and a lot of consistency. And I think it takes longer. But I think that would have been so frustrating for my child. So it wasn't an option for me. I don't like it, but it works for some. There's the option of taking peppermint tea to reduce milk supply. This was definitely not an option for me because I was trying to wean him off night feeds, not completely wean him off breastfeeding. There are some cultures that have rituals to end this phase of breastfeeding. Totally interesting. I had never heard of it before, but it's not something that's practiced in my culture, so I didn't read further into it, and it's not something that I would have done. And then one of the methods that a lot of people also use successfully, and it's apparently the fastest method, is just going cold turkey. So, you decide on the day and time where you just stop breastfeeding your child and you just never ever do it again. This was also not an option for me because I think it's very confusing, seeing as I was only trying to eliminate the night feeds, not completely stop breastfeeding. I ended up opting for the mustard method. And to be honest with you, for the longest of times, I didn't know which method I was going to go forward with. And then one night I was like, you know what? I'm going to go get the mustard. And his dad said, no ways. I said, yes, I'm doing it. I'm getting the mustard. Let's see how it goes. So I got the mustard and I put it on my nipples. And when he tried to, to breastfeed, he obviously didn't like it. His face was like, this is an abomination. But he has such strong will. As much as he hated the mustard, he kept trying and trying and trying again till he worked his way through the mustard. So it was mean. I felt really bad. I felt so guilty. But I feel like it was not as harsh as chili. But anyways, at the end of the day, it didn't work. Then we decided, okay, since this mustard thing is not going to work, I'm just not going to breastfeed him when he wants. Another thing that makes it additionally difficult for us was that we were co-sleeping. So I had to turn around. I'm still in the bed. You're not allowed to face your baby when you're co-sleeping and you're trying to wean them off night feeds because they can smell the milk. They can smell the forbidden fruit. So I would like wear layers and a really big gown and roll over so he only has my back. Tried that, and that was not successful because he got so mad. He got so mad. I know everyone says you just have to do it for a few days. He was in rage, and I was like, this cannot be right. This cannot be right for the child's emotional and psychological well-being. I'm not going to put my child through this torture. I mean, you can do it. Many people do it, but my mommy heart just could not go through with it. So we decided, okay, fine. It was too soon to cut off the night feeds. So I carried on breastfeeding him at night whilst trying to think of a solution that really worked for the whole family. Because I think it doesn't make sense if you're consumed by the guilt that I had in that moment to just soldier on with it, because I can tell you this today in retrospect, I know I would not have been able to live with it if I had continued with it. So I was like, okay, what alternatives do I have? There's people that say, oh, you can also read books to the babies about, the weaning process. I looked at all the books on Amazon. I read all the reviews. There's some books that people rant and rave about. But when I read all the reviews, I was like, you know what? This is not gonna cut it, because the stories were not explicitly cut to my child's personality, my child's situation. So I thought, okay, we look out the window every night. So he understands the concept of night. At this point, he knew what the moon was. So I created a story that I would tell him every night. And I think this may have been inspired by some of the books that I had seen on Amazon. So I took a few elements from those Amazon books and the reviews that the parents there gave, combined that with my child's personality and with our surroundings. And I decided, okay, he understands nighttime. He knows what the moon looks like. So I told him that at night, I would tell the story every night. And at nighttime, when the moon comes out, the milk goes away. He initially didn't like that story, but I was telling him this story for 2 weeks. And then after he had internalized the story, or at least I would like to believe, then we started the weaning process. And it wasn't easy, but it was way easier than, what we had attempted in advance. After 3 days, he had grasped that, okay, there's no milk at night. And I think it was somewhat palatable for him because he knew that during the day, he could still be breastfed. He would wake up at night and want to drink something. So we substituted the breastfeeding time with milk. Because in general, he wasn't formula fed. He refused the bottle. So water he accepted. And I couldn't tell, is he waking up at night wanting to breastfeed because he's hungry or thirsty? Well, at this age, he's a person that was now eating solids. So it wasn't hunger, it was most probably thirst or comfort. So we replaced the breastfeeding with water in the early phase of that transition. All right, so this is a disclaimer because as much as I'm an advocate for breastfeeding, I think it also only makes sense to pursue it as long as it's working for both the mom and child. I know people that didn't wean their babies when it was time to wean them because they said, my baby needs it. But the mother was absolutely suffering. I have a friend who had to stop breastfeeding because the broken sleep was doing a number on her and she felt like she was living in two different worlds, like she was absolutely about to go crazy. So I think depending on the reason why you have to breastfeed, you may have to take more radical approaches if it's for the sake of looking out for the mom's well-being. As much as it's so important for babies to be breastfed, I think it's even more important for babies to have moms that are stable and able to navigate the day, able to address the mommy duties and also enjoy the procedure. But like I already said, what was really hard for me in the beginning was like watching my child being in so much rage over something that I could easily resolve. That was really, really tough. And the guilt was hard, and second guessing myself. I was like, man, is this really the right decision? And I think it's okay that I second guess myself, but it was tough. And additionally, I couldn't cuddle him. I couldn't cuddle him. So that was also really, really hard. But we lived through it, and the transition was smooth. I know the cold turkey method absolutely would not have worked for my son. And I also wouldn't have been able to, to wait it out. It was really, really helpful for me that I was gentle on myself. So yes, although, we tried the mustard method, it didn't work. We're like, okay, we're dropping it. We tried the method of just like not breastfeeding him at night, and he lost his marbles. We're like, this is not working. I think it was really good that I was gentle on myself. I wasn't like, because you decided to go down this route, you're gonna have to, stick with it. I took the time to revise and adjust till we had the right method that worked. And I think that's really, really, really important. But my advantage was also at the time that we did it, I wasn't under time pressure. So I think it's really important to start, if you know that you want to wean your child off night feeds because you're going to be working night shift, or you're going to be going back to work, or for whatever reason, don't start doing it just when you need it to work, because I think that's just going to be so stressful. So yeah, we did it in good time and had the time to adjust and adapt on a need basis, and ended up coming up with a method that worked for the whole family. Additionally, I must say, at the time when I started weaning him off the night feeds, I knew another mom that was weaning her son off night feeds. So after the first attempt didn't work, I messaged, I was like, oh my gosh, this absolutely didn't work. So we've stopped the weaning process for now. And, I'm having to think of how to proceed. She's like, girl, we're in the same boat. I was like, oh, okay. Sometimes it's just nice to know, because there's some people who'll be like, that's not how a child should be raised. You should stick to what you start with. But it's like, this is still a baby. I agree, you should stick with what you start with. But we didn't say we're no longer weaning. We took a break on the method that we had initially, opted for, and we're taking time to think of an alternative. So I think it's nice to know other moms in the same boat, in the same situation. They were literally in the same situation as us. Our weaning attempt didn't work, theirs didn't work, and now we were sharing notes of how we're going to proceed going forward. That made it a little easier. And at the end of the day, I think it's really, really, really important that maybe you can get information from the internet. I would say I was somewhat influenced by the stuff that I read, because I wanted a quick solution. I wanted something that sounded like it was going to work. And the mustard method, come on, that definitely wasn't going to work. I mean, for the people that know my child, they can be like, what were you even trying? I think it's good to get ideas off the internet, find out how other moms are doing it. But at the end of the day, follow your instinct and do what works best for you, for your child, for your family. Because I'm telling you, the mustard method had absolutely nothing to do with my instinct. But the solution we then, ended up going with, that was something where I had put some more thought into it. And yes, that was an instinctive approach of something that would work for the whole family. So those are the two things I would say I would do differently. Okay, I know I was mainly focusing on nighttime feeds because that was the big challenge for me. That was like some heavy lifting. At this point, he was going to the day minder. So first thing in the morning when he would wake up, I would breastfeed him, then we would get him ready and he'd go to the day minder. So as long as I wasn't there, he was absolutely fine. He'd spend the day at the day minder. When I pick him up and he's back home, I'd breastfeed him, and he could be breastfed on a need basis anytime up until bedtime. So that's how we navigated that. But I had no urgency to wean him of the daytime feeds. I know a lot of people had opinions about this big boy that was still being breastfed. But I decided that because I was not inconvenienced by breastfeeding him, he was not inconvenienced. It's not that he couldn't play with other children because, oh, I need to be breastfed. He would play. When it was playtime, he would play. Like when it was time to do whatever other kids do, he was fine. He just had his routine. And so I carried on breastfeeding him. And I told myself, when it comes to daytime feeding, I am going to do baby-led weaning. I'm going to let him decide by himself when he's done. And so many people said to me, that's absolutely crazy because you know that he's not gonna stop. But he stopped. At the age of 2.5, he weaned himself. And it was so awkward. And I was so sad because I missed the moment. I didn't know when it was coming. It's like he was gradually breastfeeding less and less and less. And I think it took me a couple of days, if not weeks, to realize, wait a minute, this boy, he's no longer breastfeeding. He was just done. He stopped by himself. And for me and my mommy heart, that was perfect. That was what worked best for us. So to the person that requested this topic, that asked this question, I hope that your questions were answered. You got the insight that you wanted to get. And I'm so curious and excited to see how you're going to navigate this space when the time comes. If you have any further questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me. But if you know a mom that's, about to start weaning their baby or that's thinking about it, please share this video. If you enjoyed it, like, comment if you have any insights to share, subscribe if you have not already, and I'll see you next week.
Like, comment, subscribe, and share.